Hello everyone, welcome to Poker Vlog number 2 on the Joker Poker YouTube channel. My name is Justin, and in this video, I'm going to be going over a 1-2 no limit session that I played at the Southpoint Casino in Las Vegas, as well as some things not to do if you want to be successful in playing poker over the long term. And with that, let's get into the action. Southpoint is one of Las Vegas's local casinos. It's located about 10-15 minutes south of the Strip, depending on traffic. They have a lot of great restaurants that my wife and I have eaten at, and we will be reviewing on our food channel. I'll give you guys more details on that channel at the end of this video, because you guys came to this channel to watch me play some poker. I buy into this game for the max, that's $300. The first notable hand I'm dealt is pocket eights in the big blind. There are a bunch of limpers before me, and in theory, I could raise this hand, right? And it's probably what you should do in theory, but in 1-2 no limit, you gotta understand that some people are just playing this game to have fun, and if you raise it to like $20, let's say, they might just call a $20 raise with King 3 suited because it's King 3 suited and they're at the casino to have some fun, and there's nothing wrong with that. Speaking of which, the flop comes King of Hearts, 3 of Hearts, Jack of Clubs. The action checks through on the flop. The turn card is the Deuce of Clubs. I decide to overbet this pot with a bet of $12, and it gets everyone else in the hand to fold, so not a bad way to start the session. The next notable hand I'm dealt is Ace-Jack offsuit in middle position. There's an under the gun limper for $2, and with this hand, I need to be putting in a raise, so I go with $17. I get one caller from the button, everyone else folds, so I take a look at the button stack, and he's playing less than $100 after this call. It's important to note that because depending on what type of flop you get, there's a good chance that you could be playing for all of those chips on the flop. So we are going heads up to a flop that comes 5-8-6 rainbow, so not a good flop for our hand or our range, so there's nothing for me to do here but check it over to the button player, who decides to jam his remaining stack in there. So he's all in for $67, and there's nothing else I can do with ace high but fold it. Yes, poker will definitely test your patience, so just make sure you pick the correct spots. This next hand is a do as I say, not as I do type of hand, so I got 9-8 offsuit and under the gun one, and I decide to open limp. You should not open limp in early positions. Alas, it gets over to the cutoff, who calls my limp, and over to the big blind now, who checks his option. So we are going 3 ways here, and we get a pretty good flop here of 10-8-6 rainbow. So I flop a pair and a gut shot. The big blind checks it to me. I bet $10, and the cutoff player folds, and the big blind player folds. So like I said, do not play these type of hands this way. Honestly, that's a fold every single time, but it works out this time. This hand also falls into the do as I say, not as I do category as well. There is a $6 raise from the cutoff, and I decide to call the $6 raise from the small blind. The thing about the small blind position is you either want to be 3-betting or folding. Every once in a while you can call, but with ace-6 suited, you should not be calling from the small blind. You probably should just be folding the hand pre-flop. But with all that being said, I get a pretty good flop of 3 of Hearts, King of Hearts, Queen of Spades, so flopping the nut flush draw is not too bad given my exact hand. I check it over to the cutoff. He bets $7. I call $7. The turn card comes the Queen of Diamonds. I check it over to the cutoff again, and he decides to bet $20. I call the $20. Now, this river card here, I'm just giving you a little bit of a trailer here. It gets a little funky, right? So in my head at this moment, I'm thinking to myself, the only card I'm going to be betting on is a heart, right? Until I see the king of diamonds on the river. Now, this gives me ace high. Sometimes ace high can be good here on a double paired board, but it's also a good opportunity to bluff. I mentioned earlier in this video, you definitely want to be picking your spots wisely. And sometimes in poker, it's good to have a game plan going into a hand, but sometimes you'll see an opportunity that you didn't think you would have seen before, and you take advantage of it. So I decided to lead into the cutoff on this card for $35, and this puts the cutoff player into a downward spiral, so to speak. He is telling the whole table, I can't believe this run out. This is so disgusting. He's looking at me. I'm staring at a spot on the table like a deer in the headlights. I am not moving an inch. I am trying to calm my heartbeat down because obviously I am rooting for a fold. I have no idea what this guy has that is sending him into such a downward spiral, right? He keeps talking to the whole table, saying how unbelievable this is. He looks at the dealer. He's looking at me. He's talking to people at the table. It makes me think he must have something pretty good here to be saying all this stuff. Then he flashes to the table pocket threes. So he turned a full house with pocket threes here. And obviously here, I'm representing a king or a queen on this board, which would actually give me a higher full house. I don't blame him for feeling so disgusted by this run out because, my goodness, in the long term, he should make this fold, right? He has no history with me either, so he has no idea that this is a bluff, right? He does make the fold, and everyone at the table tells him it is a good fold. And when you look at it, it is a good fold in the long term because bottom full house on a double pair board is a fold. But like I said, do as I say, not as I do in a lot of these scenarios. Maybe I should start printing off do as I say, not as I do t-shirts because I do it again here in the small blind when I am dealt Jack 10 off suit. It gets over to the button who decides on an open limp. This is not the bad part of the hand where you should do as I say, not as I do, because I just call. It's just another dollar to call, right? So the big blind checks his option. We go three ways to a flop that comes Queen 8-7 rainbow. So I flop a gut shot, but for some reason in my head, I thought I flopped an open-ended straight draw. So I check it over to the button here, who bets $5. I raise to $15, which in my mind at this moment, I think I have an open-ended straight draw, which really I only have a gut shot. Now, one positive is I do have some good card removal where he can't be drawing to the nuts necessarily because I have a jack, I have a 10, etc. Now the button player decides to raise to 30. I call another $15, and it was at this moment where I realized, oh crap, all I have is a gut shot. But the turn is pretty good when I get a pair of 10s on the turn with the 10 of clubs. So now I got a pair and a gut shot. I look over at the button stack. He's playing a little over 100. So I decide to ramp up the pressure with an all-in bet, which is around $113 effective. He's thinking about it for a very long time. Now he says to me, "You really have Jack 9? And he's really thinking over this decision. And he's taking his time, playing with his chips, kind of going back and forth, saying to himself, oh man, should I really fold this, etc. And the good thing here is I do have a few outs here if he does call. I'm thinking he has a queen of some sort here. Now, he does end up making the call, and I'm in even worse shape than I thought when he turns up Queen 8. So he's flopped two pairs. So now the only thing that can save me here is another 10 or a 9 on this river, and I do get another 10 on the river. So I river trips, going runner runner on my opponent. Like I said, you should definitely do as I say, not as I do. I'm not necessarily a poker professional. It seems like that's going to be the theme for today's vlog, as I'm dealt 7-3 suited in the small blind. There is a button straddle in this hand. One person calls the button straddle. It skips over the button straddle to me. I call the button straddle, and the button straddler decides to check his option. We are heading 3 ways to a flop, which comes the ace of diamonds, 8 of clubs, king of clubs. So pretty good flop. I flop a flush draw here, so I am going to check it. The other player checks it over to the button, who decides to bet $11. I decide to call the $11. Got a pretty decent draw here, so want to see what the turn card brings. Well, it is the 5 of diamonds. I decide to check it to the button player, who decides to check it back rather quickly. So pretty nice to get a free river card here, which does come the queen of clubs. So we river ourselves a flush. I check it over to the button player, hoping he tries to bluff. He does not. He checks it back, and we take us down a medium-sized pot there. This hand I'm dealt queen jack offsuit here on the button. There are a bunch of limpers before me, and I decide to just over limp here because this type of offsuit Broadway hand, it looks pretty on paper, but in theory it actually doesn't perform as well as it looks. Anyways, we are going 5 ways to a flop, which comes 7 of hearts, queen of hearts, 7 of clubs. The action checks to me, and I decide to bet $5. And I get 2 callers. So given the action here, I'm putting at least one of these guys on a flush draw. If they had a 7 here, they're probably going to be raising that 7 to protect that hand. Anyways, the turn card is the 9 of diamonds. So both players check it to me. I decide to ramp up my betting here to $25. I do believe my top pair here is the best hand. One player folds, and the middle position player decides on a call. So now we are going heads up to a river card here. I'm just hoping it's not a scare card and I can get some more value, but unfortunately it comes the 9 of hearts. The action checks to me. I check it back, and my top pair is good against pocket 6s. The game I am in ends up breaking, and I have to move to a new table, and I'm just bleeding a bunch of chips at this point until I'm dealt pocket queens here in the big blind. So it's a good sight to see when you get a premium hand after kind of just bricking a bunch of flops and having to fold on the flop. There's a button straddler, and the small blind player calls the button straddle. I raise it up to 20, and they both call my $20 raise. The button straddler here, he has been playing very aggressively. He's even been going all in blind before the flops. But we do get a flop here of jack of clubs, 8 of clubs, 5 of diamonds. So with this guy on the button in mind, when the small blind bets $10, I'm going to raise to $40 to protect my hand, so to speak. The button player, he's thinking about it for a little bit. I'm not quite sure what's going on in his mind, but the small blind player has calling chips out already, so he is thinking about it, but then he says, well, you're already going to call, so I'll just fold. So the small blind player does call. This is the same player that I went runner trips against, so he knows that I'm not messing around. The turn card comes the 4 of hearts. He checks it to me, and I decide to bet 60 to charge any type of draws. He thinks about it for a little bit and decides on a fold. So not a bad result in that particular hand, and not a bad result for the session as a whole here. I wanted to play longer, but I just hit a brick wall, and all of a sudden I was just tired. I don't know how to explain it, but that's the thing with poker though. You never want to play when you're tired, even if the game is good and you got some guy going all in blind, etc., and you feel like you can beat him. But that's okay though, because at the end of the day, it always feels good to book a $200 win, and on top of that, enjoy myself a steak and egg victory meal, so to speak. So that steak and egg special is only $6.45 at the Coronado Cafe at Southpoint Casino. And if you want to hear more about that, my wife and I have a food review channel called Mouthful of Las Vegas. So I will leave a link for our food review channel in the description. We're going to be doing all kinds of food reviews for restaurants and events in the Las Vegas area. So definitely check it out. Thanks again for watching Poker Vlog number 2, guys. If you guys like this video, go ahead and leave a like because it does help get the video out there to more people. And if you guys like what I'm putting on this channel, feel free to subscribe because I'm going to be putting more content in the future, and that'll notify you when my next video drops. My wife and I are going on vacation, but when we get back from vacation, one of the first things I'm going to be doing is recording Poker Vlog number 3. And I need your guys' help because there's a lot of areas I feel like I can improve on in the vlog. So leave a comment on how I can improve the vlog because I want Poker Vlog number 3 to be even better than Poker Vlog number 2. And I felt like this vlog was better than Poker Vlog number 1 in terms of how it looks and how it was executed. Again, guys, thank you very much for watching the video and have a great day.